Hi, this is Frank Rodriguez Villela, and I want to do a quick tutorial on how to change strings on the Villela V8VA, which is obviously my soprano guitar that you purchased, or maybe you just want to know about how to change the strings on something like this that I produced. This is basically a 9-string instrument, and there's basically we have this. As far as us. We have a full set of strings that you can buy, and it's once you own this instrument, this is we usually ship with one set, and it's 1 through 9. So it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 strings, and we label everything 1 through 9 using beads. And you can also get later on. You can just get a half set, and the half sets are basically just the low strings, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, but they are labeled. When you get a half set and you say you want to replace the low strings, they're labeled like this: 4, 5, and 6. So you have those labeled, and it's technically a half set of strings. If you pop strings, generally these are the ones that sometimes get over tightened and they will pop, unfortunately. But it's just one of those things that happens. But we do sell them in half. We also have them, the treble strings. They're all we sell them at half sets of treble and half a bass, whichever you prefer. Okay, now in this case we're going to start. This is a lot like changing strings for a charango. We basically use when we actually label the strings, we use a little bead. So we're going to do string 1 and string 2. These are the same strings. Basically 1 and 2 is the same pitch and the same string, and also 3 and 4 will be the same string. But right now we're going to do just the first 2 treble strings, so you can see what it looks like when you actually string it. We start with 1 first, and many times when it comes down to it, some people like to, if they do classical strings, they like to beat it up. And beat it up means when they actually put flame or fire on the ends. These are too thin to do that, so you really can't do it. And we don't recommend the beating up, where you actually introduce fire to it and you get a little bead. We rather do knots. Knots are just a lot safer. So what we do is we're going to do number 1, the number 1 hole, and we run the string through there, through the first hole. And we go in from the sound hole this way, and then we actually get the string, and what we do is we tie a little knot. Little knot goes basically just like you tie a knot, any knot, and then you make a knot. This knot is what locks down the string from moving, so it's really pretty cool. It's a standard thing that people do. Now I get the string and I go behind the string, and then what I do once it's behind, I go over and under, and I do another one over and then under. And the nice thing, if you keep a nice little tail on here, you can hold the string. The left hand will pull the actual string, and it will do this. So now you have basically the little knot is up against the string, so it pulls into it and it locks it in. And what I do is I keep tension. I keep tension all the way, and then what I do is I actually pull the string, go through the peg. Okay, and I'm holding the string with my left hand. You might not be able to see that, but it's keeping it in place, which is what you need to do. I feed it through. So I feed it through the peg, go through, and then I feed it back through same location that I fed it. I sort of reverse it. And what I like doing is, in this case, it's a little it's a thin string, so you gotta, and I pull it through again. Okay, now what I do is actually feed the string through the hole for a second time. So I actually go back. So it's a little bit of a repeat, but it makes a tie. It actually So now I pull it again. Okay, and now I actually just make a tie. You know, it just sort of like ties another, almost like a knot. Okay, so now this here, as I'm pulling it, this part here from the actual finger to the peg there, that's the amount of string that will be on, that we wound up on the peg. You don't want to add too much string because then you'll be turning forever, you know. So you basically you just need a little actual, and I'm feeding the string back for a third time, and then I actually, and you got to be careful because it does like to wrap around itself to the peg, so you just got to make sure you feed it through. So now I have it. This is the third time. Now I do this. I go over, under, over, under, and I'll do 3 times, and that's it. You don't need it more than 3. The right hand is really making a lot of, it has pressure. It's pulling down, and as I wind it with my left hand here, since I'm right-handed, I'm doing this. I go ahead and wind it up. My goal is to wind up the string on the right hand side of that little hole, and that's just to keep a straight line. Basically, I want a straight line, so I'm going to keep. I'll explain what the straight line is. So once, and I'm always putting pressure here. This right hand has a lot of has a little tension, not too much. You don't want to go too crazy. Okay, so there it is. That's the actual. Everything's sort of, the string has sort of wound underneath the string. So now it tightens up. I use a fingernail clip, so I'm using this fingernail clip. And since I think everything is pretty well in good position, what I do is just, I try to save as much string, because if you do, you can actually have extra string. There's enough string here to be a replacement for the first string. Okay, so that one's already on there. The string is on the right hand side. Again, this is a very similar to doing a charango string. Okay, so now if you look at this is basically enough string to go ahead and probably use it for the second string. So I'll explain that. I'm going to keep this one. This one's the first one, and let me repeat the process. This is a number 2. This is the second string, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing just so you can see it. I got the end. I'm going to run it through the second hole. Okay, and sort of nice. Sometimes you can actually, I'm going to catch this little string here. When I mean catch it, it's going to overlap it. Here I'm going to make the actual little knot. So I knot up the string, and then sometimes I do this just to make it nice and tight. I sort of don't pull a tooth, you know. So now it's nice and tight, a nice and tight knot. Okay, so there's the knot. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Go behind it, behind the string, and I'm going to go over and then under, and then again I go over and then under. The second time that I've gone under it, I hold it and I sort of guide it. I guide it so it can be right where it needs to be as far as against the string. Let me make sure is that right here? Oops, no, sorry about that. So let me do it again. Let me just pull it. You gotta make the string is pretty skinny, and if you're a little far-sighted, it might be an issue. So you want the pull, and I'm going to pull again, and let me see if it gets there. Yeah, there it is, and there it is. It's just right against the string. So as I pull, that knot is butting against the string. That's keeping it from slipping. Now I'm going to do this. I'm keeping tension and keeping tension all the way. Then I hold it with my thumb. Okay, and I'm going to place it through the hole. Let me even out. Sometimes I like to even out these holes just so it's basically easier for people to see. So there it's even, or actually just easier for you to do. So I run the string through the hole, and then I just sort of run it through. Okay, now I'm with the right hand, I'm going to hold the string in place, and now I'm going to run it again. I'm going to go basically back through the hole a second time. So now I do this again, same thing, just like I did the first, and it's going to run through there, and then I'm going to go ahead and run it through. Okay, and so now I want to, that's the amount of string that's going to go on the peg. Okay, right around there. Okay, so now I'm going to run it again the third time. It is a little tedious on these strings, you know. I do them a lot, so it's a little, you know, I'm a little used to it. What I do in this case, same thing, run it the third time, and then I'm going to actually get the string is going to go over, under, over, under, and then the last time, third time, over, under. So you're just like twisting it. You're twisting the string together. This has pressure. Oops. This has pressure, and now I'm doing this. And now I still gonna keep it. I'm gonna, as I wind it up, I want the string to be basically to be winding on the right side, of the hole. Okay, and this is going to create just a string to have a straight path. And this, to me, straight paths mean where it doesn't angle weird. It's just creating a nice little path. Okay, so that's it. That's basically it. I put the second string. Now the only thing I have to do is obviously put it on the right slot. And there it is. Okay, that's the second, and then you repeat the same for the 3, 4, and 5. What I'm going to do, since I do have this little cutter, I really recommend these probably more than scissors. They're just very sharp. So for like toenails, I guess. So now it's cut. So this is for, again, it's a pretty long string. So now you have a replacement. This second string is a good replacement for the first, just because of its length. So what I'm going to do is get the number 1 dice, and now I have basically extra string for the first string. And then since the first string is longer, this first string is perfect for a second replacement. So I do the 2. Okay, so that's about it. You can replace those two with even though yeah, it's almost like 2 strings and you get 4 altogether. Hope that makes sense. So there's your a little copy to your, basically your extras. That's if you cut them nice and conservative. You got to be careful. All right, so there it is. That's the first. Repeat the process for the rest. So technically then it will look like this. So you see that's how it looks. And then you can see the headstock. And to me, what I mean by straight lines is that when the string is here, it goes straight into a path instead of it angling over there. I try to keep everything nice and even, you know, nice and even, nice and straight. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the low strings. So I'm going to put this here, and so I start with the 6th string. Again, you got the you know, just if you get a full set, they won't be this way. They'll be all just beaded in one pack. These are the half sets. So I'm going to go ahead and get a 6th string. This is the 6th string, and what I do is I start with the 6 for a particular reason. If you do straight classical guitars, you go 4, 5, and 6. But on my soprano, I use, for the low strings, I use the 2-hole system. Okay, so that means the 2-hole system, I'm going to string the 6th string through the 2nd hole first. So this is 1, this is 2. Now the interesting thing about yeah, this is basically the 6th string. in the standard soprano pack, it is actually the 9th string, because that's how you order it. So in this case, I'm going to do this. It's going to go through that second hole, okay? And then what it does, I go over the hole, and then I actually do this. I actually go through the first hole. That is my actual tie. These strings, the reason I picked this design is because you don't have to tie it. It's a lot of work to tie a big string on a small bridge. So I decided to go ahead and do a 2-hole system. And so the 2-hole system is just something that's just a lot easier and more space. It's cleaner. So there it is. I wrapped it through. I'll show it one more time just so you can see it again, and I'll do another string. So this is a 6th string through the second hole. Okay, 2nd hole, and then it goes over the bridge. This is our bridge. Goes over our bridge, and then we actually now go into the first hole. The first hole is basically I call it like the tie hole. That's where we tie the string to the bridge. I put the string underneath it, and it always needs to go underneath the string, because when we pull, that's what locks it down. These are wound strings, so they grip into each other. Okay, now I do this. I hold it, and I'm actually going to pull it up. I technically unwind it, so I'm unwinding and unwinding it, and then with my thumb, with the left hand, usually I use my thumb, I hold it. Now I'm actually going to go in through the peg, okay? And this one I can't this is so thick, I cannot run the string through the hole again. So the only thing I do is run it through, and then I run it back. Okay, run it back. And so now I just sort of adjust the amount of string. You don't want to, some people will actually put like way too much string. They'll actually, sometimes you'll see it where they actually have the string, you know, like up here somewhere. You don't need that much string. You really need to have just a little string, especially since the string is thick. It covers a lot. It ends up hogging up a lot of the space on the peg. So that's a good right there. Looks like about an inch and a quarter. So that from here to there, from where it's resting on my finger to the peg is about an inch. So now I'm going to hold it there. I'm going to wrap it once, and I'm just going to wrap twice. There, just twice around, twisting it, holding the loose end, and then going ahead and winding it up. Once I wind it up, and I have to pull, because the thicker the string is, the more it wants to do its own thing. So you gotta give it a little tug just to sort of control the direction. Okay, now you're doing this, and it's creating a little twist. It's twisting itself on there. Once it actually lands, or once it actually rests on itself, it's good. Once we don't even have to go to pitch there. So there it is. So that's good enough there to cut. So I'm just going to grab my little and there it is. Okay, and so now I gotta do the 5th strings, because this is why I start on the 6th string. With the 5th string, or technically it would be the 8th string. So here's my 5th string, and sometimes it will be in dices. Just depends. We'll do dice, or sometimes it'll be just a paper with the number. So this will be number 5. Once you get the actual half set, you'll see the instructions, and it's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to run the string. So this one went, we went through the through 2. So now we're going to put this one through 4. Sort of where we run the strings through the even strings first, or through even hole. Sorry, even hole first. So now I run it. See how I did that? I just ran it through. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is again run it through. See, here's this tail. I call this little tail. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust it. I'm going to put it right underneath there. And now what I'm going to do is run this through the third hole. The third hole is what, again, it's our tie hole. So now this, you just got to remember that this end has to go underneath the string. Okay, and then I'm going to, with the left hand, I'm going to pull, and there it is. See how that looks? That tail of the 6th string is going underneath there. Okay, and then there it is. It's basically it's locking everything in, and it's really, you don't have to tie it, which is crazy. So classical guitars have that design. And then I'm going to run it through. Okay, the same thing. On the low strings, I do not run them twice through the pegs. It's just too thick. Some people do it, and it's really hard to take off afterwards. So I say don't do it. The only thing you have to do on the wound strings is just make sure you adjust the string. There it is. That's the amount of string I want there. Now I'm going to do this. Go over, under, over, and then under. And now once that happens, there I am basically locked in to the amount of string that's going on the peg. Now I just twist. I like doing these by hand. You can get a winder, but I think, you know, since you're not really having to wind too much, it's not that big of a deal. So I'm doing everything. Again, these strings are going to be it's going to wrap on the right side of the hole. So I don't know if you can see that. That's the right hand of the hole. Okay, and again, once the string tightens on top of itself just once or twice, it's pretty much set. So there it is. I'm going to go ahead. It's obviously not tuned, but it doesn't matter. So now I'm holding. Now I'm going to cut. I really like these nail clippers. So there it is. It's really minimal string on the peg. Okay, so that's how it looks, and this is sort of a nice clean look on the actual peg. Okay, and this is something that I sort of made. I made for my shop, and it's just basically a butcher block item, and I just sort of figured out the different sizes I need as far as walls, so I can butt up the instrument and I can hold it and it doesn't move. So it's just something that my crazy brain thought of. Okay, and so once it's all done, you basically, it should look like this. So these are all the strings on there. Okay, this is a beautiful one. It's jacaranda wood, my favorite. And so it has, if you're going to hear it, it's just going to have this little sound to it. Now it's going to be all tuned up, hopefully. There it is. Okay, so that's a whole. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Any questions, you can always contact me through frankenstrings.com, my website, or just make a comment on and reach out to me, and I can explain anything else you might need to know. All right, thank you so much. Thank you for listening, and I hope this made sense. Thank you.